And live content provided at the event is for general information only, not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Any performance reference is historical, and there is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged, may not be invested into directly, and economic forecasts set forth during the event may not develop as predicted. There can be no guarantee that any strategy will be successful. These thoughts and opinions are those of Gimbal Financial and do not represent the views of LPL Financial. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member of FINRA and SIPC, and investment advice is offered through Gimbal Financial, registered investment advisor, and a separate entity from LPL Financial. Separate.
Wow. Nice work again. Arick, how's it going over there?
I'm doing really well. Cannot complain.
Good.
Amanda?
I spoke too early last week. We're still missing Doug, and I'm still getting way more comfortable in this chair.
Sorry about your luck, Doug. I don't know what to do about that. I thought I would kick us off with a COVID update. And just talk a little bit about it, encourage you all who might have some concerns. And where'd we go?
Yep, there, click that.
Amanda let me drive, but you all better put your seatbelts on. So I don't know where you all are in your kind of personal situation with regard to COVID. So we just go through the data here and talk you through what's going on out there. The blue area here is the daily new positives, and then this orange area is the daily new deaths. And the grid of the numbers are different. They're on each side over here. And so the testing and the deaths are both pointing towards this latest variant is going away. The contagiousness of this one is less than what we had a year ago. The data also shows us that if you're the oldest one on this end of the Zoom call, you're at more risk than those youngsters that I'm looking at here. And if you're a child between 0 and 17, it is definitely more risky to have pneumonia than the COVID. So whatever you're hearing out there, the data speaks pretty clearly what's really going on.
That one's from the CDC too.
Yeah, that's CDC data. It's also, I always like to smack Chicago when I get a chance. This top thing up here said that nationwide so far this year, there's been 214 children younger than 17 have died from COVID, while in Chicago alone, 261 kids in that age have died from violence, gunfire there. And so I think my opinion is, and y'all don't have to agree with me, my opinion is a lot of energy is poured into the children for COVID when we might, as a country, spend that money in more productive areas. But that's all I got to say about COVID. Let's talk about Arick Crecelius, and what did you learn this week, Arick, that we need to kind of pass on to everybody else?
Yeah, something really important I wanted to mention was the importance of questions and how they are a great way to learn, not only on like the advisor side, but also on the client side. So don't ever be afraid to ask questions, and there's no such thing as a stupid question either. Someone said something, a quote this week that I really liked, and it was, if you don't ask the right questions, you will never get the right answer. And I think that's just a really powerful statement. So, we can't read minds, and if you don't ask the specific question that you're looking for, we won't be able to give you the right answer.
Nice. What do you think about that, Amanda?
Good key takeaway. That's just a lesson of life. I like it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I always heard there's no stupid questions, just stupid people.
Yes.
No, sorry out there. Ask questions. We love questions. So,
yes.
And the question now is, how do we get Arick off of the screen here? We're going to send him flying like that beautiful bird over his head there. See you next time.
See you later.
He's off. There he is.
So we had the COVID, we had the Crecelius. Talk to me about the cost of living, or the COLA. What do you know about that?
The COLA is going up. So which means more money from your Social Security checks, but it also is a positive, well, just an indicator that inflation is definitely on the rise. We've been talking about this really since COVID and not everything, just with shutting everything down. Inflation is high, and that also means cost of living is high. So in January of 2022, if you do receive a Social Security check right now, you'll see it increase on average by about, what did the website say? $92 a month. So there's been a 5.9% increase in the cost of living just based on inflation. So
that is huge.
Yes.
Something I was listening to said that might have been the biggest increase in like 40 years.
Yeah,
or more.
1982 was the last time we
Okay.
saw a big increase like that.
Yeah, and so how that affects you is, yeah, you're going to get a bigger check, but your groceries are going up.
Right.
Everything is going up in price. And our leadership told us this was transitory inflation. Well, it doesn't appear that like with this kind of a significant increase in the cost of living, you may want to pay closer attention, and we'll respond, I think, in helping you with ideas on what to do with that. But definitely not a good sign. Reminiscent, in my opinion, of 1970s kind of economy where we had some stagflation going on. And so we'll see what happens with the inflation, but stay tuned, and two sides to every coin. So we'll try to find the way to make that work to your advantage as we go forward.
That was so long ago, my parents didn't even know each other back then. Just to put that into perspective for people. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. And when I got in the business, Amanda, back when dinosaurs were walking, I think inflation was coming down from 15 or 16%. And probably when I got into business, it was between 9 and 10%. So it can go a lot higher, and that is it's not a stabilizing. It's not a good thing for the economy when it gets going at a rapid pace like that. I also wanted to talk about, so we had COVID, Crecelius, cola, and now correlated. I was talking to you guys, I couldn't figure out, there were a couple things going on this week. I couldn't figure them out. And because I couldn't get a straight answer reading the news. And the two things were the Southwest Airlines. I don't know if you guys are watching that. And then the ports in Los Angeles. There's all these ships with all kinds of supplies. And I see a correlation, and my Hoosier friends may not like this. Back in the day, I think Dan Quayle, which that's a name before your time too.
Oh, I do know that one because he's a DePaul grad.
Oh, and the media made him a kind of a clown, even though he was vice president. They didn't treat him well. I think it's because he couldn't spell. Do you know the word?
Oh, I don't.
I think
you told me, but
I think it's potato. I think he misspelled potato, and I don't even know how to spell it, so I'm not even gonna try that. Can't remember if he put an E or didn't put an E on the end of it or something like that. And so from that point on, he was bad mouth. But
maybe I won't associate tigers and our education.
Well, you just you don't need to do a spelling test. So and pronunciation is gonna be the thing that I'm gonna have a hard time with on the Hoosier that I think needs to be under the spotlight is Pete Buttigieg. Did I get it right, you think?
I think you did.
Yeah, and he is the Secretary of Transportation, and I think he's the commonality between those two situations. You've got ports that are part of transportation, and there are I don't know, you can't say train wreck. What would you say? A shipwreck? Shipwreck out there. And it isn't the administration said we're going to work around the clock. That's not the problem, from what I understand. The problem is the regulations require the truck drivers to drop off the same type of container that they're picking up, and it doesn't work that simply. And so they're supposed to come at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and so there's definitely a communication problem that I think is, I would guess, high on the priority list of the Secretary of Transportation, and we'll see how quickly he can get that resolved. Along with the lines of the Southwest Airlines. I haven't paid attention the last couple of days how many flights have been getting canceled, but there were a lot earlier in the week.
Up to like 10, even 40%, I think, in one day. But I think it's gotten better since then.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
40% of flights being canceled in one day.
Yeah. So this week, two high risk situations come back to an Indiana politician. We'll see how he fares with this thing. Well, let's talk markets. How about that?
Let's do it.
We were definitely a little more pessimistic last week. Our attitudes have changed a bit this week. Some shifting in the markets have given us a little more optimism. Get the update you here. I thought I had this open, but I didn't. Got mom up on my screen. I don't know what that was about. I know Amanda's having lunch with her mom.
I am.
So that's a good thing. The data on the new stocks from last week to this week is as follows. We had 9,128 stocks in our database last week. Now we're up to 9,140. Last week, 4,700 were below their 21-day moving average. This week, it's improved quite a bit to 3,000 or below their 21. That's the shorter term moving average. We had 5,200 that were below their 50-day average. That's a little bit longer time frame. This week, it's only 4,300. And then the more dangerous and anxious one is the 200-day moving average. And almost 3,800 were below it last week, and it's improved to 3,500. Still have a good amount of them there. Our research has gone a little more bullish, which means that we'll be buying things probably even today that we think are good opportunities. So we move some of that money that we put on the sidelines if things were looking risky to get a little bit of it working back in. I don't think we're completely out of the kind of the risk situation that we were perceiving, and some of those situations like Southwest Airlines, inflation, and some of those unpredictable things going on out there will have a impact on how the economy responds to this. Let's see here. Last week when we pulled this up, the number one industry was coal. It stayed up there again. So
that's still crazy.
Clean energy was the clean energy was the thought that everybody thought at the beginning of the year, and it's definitely not clean energy leading the way. There's just all kinds of possibilities out there of what will make sense going forward, and that's one industry that has had a good year. Oil and gas again is doing pretty nicely, as well as the banking type things. This example is consumer loans. So one of the things I've said consistently, and this is where it's going to get real risky, is me trying to share a video with you all.
We've tested it, but now is the real test.
Now Keith is driving, so let's see what happens. Share screen, share sound. There we go. We're going to share this screen. We have said several times in the last few weeks that all stocks are speculative, and I think I'm going to do one of our curious investors on why you need to put a limit to your downside risk, depending on where you are in your life cycle. Like as for you, Amanda, I think you said in our introduction disclaimer that no strategy is guaranteed to work, right? And yet most of us have been taught that if you buy and hold, everything will work out
right.
fine.
Our industry does tell us that.
Yeah, and even though we're told in the disclaimer that that isn't true, most people have been taught that it's true. And we've said consistently on here, all stocks are speculative. And so it caused us to turn back the heat a little bit, turn down the dial and the risk in the portfolio, and sometimes turn it up a little bit. And a lot of this we learned from a fellow by the name of Bill O'Neill. And I found this video of him, and I thought I would just share this with you. If you all bear with us and listen to Bill O'Neill, he is one of the most successful investors of our time. He doesn't have the reputation of Warren Buffett because he made all of his wealth with his own money, whereas Buffett was using the resources of an insurance company. So Buffett started with a bigger number. I think O'Neill started with maybe hundreds of dollars to build his wealth. And so this is William O'Neill, and he's talking about why you want to put a limit to the risk, particularly when you've already accumulated the wealth. When you're doing a dollar cost averaging on your 401k, it's not as big a deal because you're making big contributions on a regular basis. But if you've got your nest egg, you don't want to let it slip away. So here is Mr. William O'Neill. Enjoy.
But what happens when you may be wrong? You should have a way of protecting yourself when you may have made a mistake. You need a rule that limits your losses in any one stock. There's a story that illustrates how rapidly losses can build. There was this little kid walking down a country road, and he comes upon a farmer. This farmer is hiding behind a bush, and he has a box propped up on one side by a stick with a string tied around it. A trail of corn leads into the box. The little kid asks the farmer, "What are you doing?" "I'm catching turkeys. I've got 11 turkeys in the box, and as soon as the 12th one goes in, I'm going to pull the string and capture all these turkeys." Well, while they were talking, 3 turkeys walked out. The farmer said, "I can't pull the string now. I had 11 and I've only got 8. As soon as some of the turkeys go back in, I'll pull the string." As they continued talking, 2 more turkeys walked out. Well, the farmer couldn't accept 6 when he had 11, and then another 2 walked out. Well, I'll wait until 1 more turkey walks back in, and you know what happened. The last few turkeys walked out, and the farmer went home empty-handed. In managing your portfolio, do you ever count turkeys? This rule about cutting losses in stocks should be strictly applied, or you could eventually suffer some serious losses because all stocks are speculative and involve risk. Remember, there are no good stocks. They're all bad. All stocks are bad unless they go up in price. The rule I suggest is to always sell a stock if its price drops 8% below your initial purchase price. You're not going to be right every time, and you don't have to be right all the time to make money investing. By setting a strict 8% sell rule and never making exceptions, you have a much better chance of keeping your losses within reason. The 8% rule applies only to cutting actual losses where a stock drops 8% below the price you paid when you bought the stock. For example, if you were up 30%, you wouldn't necessarily sell just because you dropped 8%. You're ahead and you have leeway for the price to fluctuate, as a normal correction typically exceeds 8%. We learned through our study that if you buy your stock at the right time, it should not go down 8%.
So there you have it. That is Mr. William O'Neill. He is, I've had the privilege of sitting in under his teaching a number of times over my career, and just a very wise man about the market. And the idea of letting the turkeys out of the cage, right. He's just talking to the psychology of that. It's sometimes, he's talking about individual stocks, but as we're managing portfolios, we're thinking the same thing on your behalf, because we don't want to let big profits escape if there's a way to kind of pull the trap and keep some of those turkeys in there.
And one of the first things I learned starting at Gimbal was, if you have a strategy on how to buy, first you have to have a strategy on how to sell. When you're going to sell, when you're going to buy, those two correlate directly.
It is painful to help people with their individual stocks. Maybe you inherited something, or you had an opinion. Maybe you bought something that did really well for a period of time, and you didn't have a strategy on how to get out. You just thought it's always going to do well. And O'Neill said it a couple of times there, is all stocks are bad until they go up. And I forgot, Mark Twain or one of those guys said something like that. And that's why sometimes you'll see us do a transaction in maybe your account where we may have bought a stock a month ago, and all of a sudden it went opposite of where we thought. Right. It's a lot easier for us to correct a 2% loss than to correct a 20% loss on a mistake in an investment. And so if you see those kind of transactions going on where we sold something relatively quickly after we moved it into the portfolio, it's because it didn't do what we thought early on, and we don't want to let a small loss turn into a big one. We don't want our turkey cage to end up empty there. And so we do that on your behalf to try to protect your capital the best that we really think we can. So that is Mr. William O'Neill. That's basically, that was California. That's where I met William O'Neill, is in California, and he's in the Malibu area. So that's.
They have a lot of turkeys out there?
I forget where he grew up. Yeah, I don't think there's turkeys out there. There's a lot of interesting there's a lot of interesting things out in California, but those of you that are out there, we love you. I love the ocean. I love Santa Monica. Every time I've been out there to get some training with them, I've really enjoyed that. And so that's what we saw going on in the market this week. I had one other thing, and I forgot to write it down, what I want to talk about. Maybe it's a little bit of financial planning kind of ideas. We had really a treat yesterday. One of our clients joined us, and he pointed out that, I wrote it down, you probably memorized it, but he basically said, Keith, you've taught us that money is a tool and it's not the goal. And I don't know if we ever say it quite that succinctly, but he was able to communicate very clearly what we think about money on your behalf, is that it's just the fuel to your life. It's not the object of it.
Yeah.
And that's just not normal, you know?
No, I don't think our competitors would believe that was the same thing. And I think our industry, I mean, our 401ks, even if you're in corporate America, then you're taught to build and build and build. But then what are you building it for? And that's where we like to think we come in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And using it for the things we want to do, as opposed to just acquiring it and then not knowing what to do with it.
Right. And you know, part of what my own personal financial plan was to accumulate at a slower pace and work at a slower pace, but do it for a longer period of time, so that I could have that free time with my children as they were growing up, so that I would know them and they would know me. And it just may require me to work a little bit longer than I had thought as a younger person. When you may not believe this, Amanda, when I was in my 20s, I wanted to own the universe. So, so I didn't have,
that's a big goal.
Yeah, I didn't have too big of a goal, but I didn't understand what money was back then either.
That's when we say, do less, Keith. Do less.
Relax. And so, today, that's I think we all got an email picture of the Shreve boys with their dad in Arkansas going to a football game this weekend.
Oh, right.
And so not only are we leading by example, but we just want to encourage everyone to realize that money is a tool and not the goal. The other thing that our friend pointed out yesterday that I thought was really cool, he was coming to present to us a really cool organization. If you've not ever heard about it, it's called Indiana Kids Belong. And they are an organization that helps the forgotten children in Indiana, the foster children, and helps create some opportunities so these young children can find some hope in a desperate situation. And this little organization is one he's involved with after he moved on from his corporate role in the for-profit industry. And really what I thought was really cool what he said, a couple of cool things he said was, one, I was able to do this because of the way I've been taught to think through Gimbal Financial over the years, that money is a tool, it's not the object. And he also said that he doesn't feel like this is any more important of a role than when he was in corporate America. Right. So wherever you find yourself today, whether you're in the midst of your career and maybe you feel like it's a futile endeavor sometimes when you're cranking the thing really hard, or whether you've retired, both of those, you can really reframe your thoughts about what those things are. And today's the day. If you find yourself in a place that maybe seems a little frustrating, I think we are able to have conversations with you to kind of throw out some thoughts and some creativity to help you really jumpstart your career thoughts, not only today, but in the future.
Yeah, we've said that before. No matter how old, no matter how young, you can always rethink, redefine,
rethink, redirect, and be motivated, I think.
Yeah.
I don't have any other ideas that I wanted to throw out there today. What else do we need to talk about, Amanda?
I was just thinking about, I think tomorrow might be the perfect fall day. So
really?
Today it might not look that way, but I think it's in the high 50s, sunshine. So Shreves, have a great time at the Razorback football game. And if anyone else is going to any other football games, enjoy it.
And if you're cruising through Carmel, there's two beautiful red Adirondack chairs out here, and you feel free to sit down have a soft drink or whatever it is you're doing.
Date
And
night. You and Connie did a date night.
Connie and I did a date night out here. You guys can as well. And if you sit on the left-hand chair and stare directly ahead, the tree directly in front of you has looks like the painter has begun painting it multiple colors. I was enjoying that yesterday during the meeting. And so we just encourage you to enjoy this day and then enjoy this weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody next Friday.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Take care.